Hello, my loves. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and this is going to come out a little different than I would normally do, strictly because I'm sick. I'm getting over something. If you listen to last week's episode, I'm going to reference part of that last week's episode a couple times for a couple reasons, just so everyone's clear. I said that once we got into parts of the week that there would be some health things, but my goal was to actually spend time during the Cancer full moon video going over the health things that I thought people were going to be dealing with. But then that energy hit me like a ton of bricks, and I wasn't well enough. I mean, I tried to sit here and actually record the Cancer full moon video. And whenever I sit here, like I was getting so woozy and tired, I just started, I was falling over. I couldn't hold myself up. Ultimately, I spent like 36 hours straight in bed, Tuesday going into Wednesday. Didn't hardly move, didn't hardly do anything. Like my dogs were curled up in bed with me, like, Mama, get better. What do we need to do? And I'm still getting over whatever it was. I was already kind of not feeling well last week's episode, but what I was feeling though was a pinched nerve because I had actually pinched a nerve in my pelvis and I was working through that. And I've dealt with pinched nerves and nerve pain for a very long time. So I'm used to working through that. But because I was already inflamed in the body, I did not realize that I was coming down with something until it hit me, until it was full on, full ton of bricks in my throat, on my chest. Everything's like, oh, this is worse than I thought. So I had posted on Tuesday that the full moon in Cancer video was being delayed because I was hoping that it was just like, I'm tired, my pain level is getting too high. And then as the day progressed, I know this is something else. So I actually posted on Facebook on the Spiritual Boujee Astrology page that this episode had been canceled due to illness. This is me kind of explaining that. And I want to kind of cover one of the reasons why I was saving that medical part, because this is going to kind of enlighten a bunch of people as to why all of us seem to be suddenly hitting the bug in some way. Some of us it's COVID, some of us it's the flu, some of us it's something. But for a lot of people, it's very much a respiratory thing. Now, why is that? Well, last week, at the beginning of the week, when a lot of this stuff was hitting, Venus also went through that trine with Neptune. And my personal opinion, this is a dusty thing, this is not anything that's in any of the books. I associate germs with Neptune. I do. There's the effect that we can't see when it comes to Neptune, and that's very much a germ thing. If somebody is sick and they go and touch a bunch of things in the grocery store or in the convenience store, and then you immediately go and grab whatever they just touched, they like think the fountain area at the store. Some people go through and they're like, they don't read the little sign of what size the cup is. They just pull the cup out. Oh no, that's not the size I want. And they go to the next one and they go to the next one. They grab a couple before they actually pull one out. But if there's germs on their hands, you don't see that. You go and grab that cup that somebody else just, put their hand on. You don't know that they were just coughing before they put their hand on that. So there's this hidden effect whenever it comes to Neptune that had an effect on Venus, but it also had an effect on Mercury. The lungs are ruled by Venus. I got to pause it. The lungs are ruled by Venus, but anything on your body that is in duality, as in there's more than one. You got two ears, two eyes, two nostril holes, two hands, two arms, two legs. Anything on your body that is in duality is also ruled by Mercury. Now, some of these things are only ruled by Mercury. Some of the things are co-ruled by Mercury. And last week, Venus, in her detriment, made a trine to Neptune. And then Mercury, retrograde, in its detriment, made a square to Neptune. And then also a conjunction with Mars. I was very clear last week that many of us were going to be hitting walls, energetic walls in some way, shape, or form. But for a lot of us, it very much manifested in our health. Respiratory, specifically, because again, Venus rules the lungs, but we have two lungs. Mercury has the duality aspect there too. Respiratory infections and respiratory issues and breathing issues very much in the astrology. That's not even a joke. It's very much in the astrology, but I didn't want to put that into the weekly episode. I wanted to put more emphasis on the full moon in Cancer video, because the full moon in Cancer being related to matrons and mothers and care and nurturing. And who does the most nurturing whenever it comes to our families? Moms. Moms. Okay. So I'm going to do this upload. Obviously, some of you guys might have already noticed this. I'm doing this recording on Zoom. Now, I usually only do the Zoom recordings for my one-on-ones with people and their actual natal chart readings and stuff like that. But I need to be able to pause. In my other software that I use, I can't pause. And if I do any type of edits later, you guys probably seen this in last week's episode. I had to cut part of the Saturday. I think it was Saturday. I had to cut part of Saturdays because I got to coughing. Yeah, I know. I didn't do the foreseeing on that one. I just thought it was my allergies kind of messing with me, but I had to cut part of Saturday, and then literally the cut that I did, Sunday's episode, the whole screen went away. So it was really annoying to me. And I'm sure it was annoying to some of you guys too, because I didn't have a way to fix that. And I was kind of crunched on time with the holidays. So I just uploaded it as is. And I don't want to do that again this week, because the thing is like, I feel like every 3 or 4 minutes, there's going to be a pause. So you guys got to bear with me on this episode. I've got open cough drops on my desk. I've got, my little bottles of like water and lemonade mixed together all right here. I'm going to have to pause this quite a few times. So the quality of this video is not going to be quite the same because I'm doing this through Zoom, but it's still coming. I mean, you're still going to have it. So that's going to be the helpful part. I didn't want to miss another video. I felt really bad that I wasn't able to do the full moon in Cancer video, but I think enough people understood that we were getting to a point that we were going to be hitting some type of wall last week, a wall in a situation, a wall with another person, an energetic wall. We were having things internally that was being very much activated in us that in the moment made us feel lost. It made us feel confused. It made us feel like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I'm doing this. I don't know what's going to happen next. And in the intro to last week's video, I had a very clear message to the people that were feeling that. And if you didn't hear last week's message, go back and watch. The whole idea, and you just need to watch the intro, by the way. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You just go back and watch the intro. That's like 2 or 3 minutes long. The whole idea as to the offer that I extended at that time, which is still active at the moment that I'm recording this, and is going to be active all the way through tomorrow on New Year's Day, that's still active. Now, if you took me up on that and you messaged me last week, most of you didn't actually get your one-on-ones yet. We didn't do them because I was sick. So a lot of you guys are actually scheduled to meet with me this week. But understand, like, I'm going through this energy too. I understand where you're at. I understand whenever you have this moment where you're feeling lost, you feel like something's supposed to be turning around, you feel like something's supposed to be going a certain way, but nothing's happened. We were all supposed to get to an energetic wall of some point last week. And that wall is almost like whenever you see somebody at the swim meet. You do the lap one way, you hit the wall, you turn around, and you go back another. There was a reason I set a wall. Over the weekend, Jupiter turned direct. It's Sunday morning as I'm recording this, and Jupiter is now direct. In the next 36 hours after this moment, Mercury, good old Mercury, will also be turning direct. This is part of how we start the week. There was something that we were meant to deal with last week. Some type of information, some type of confusion, some type of internal activation. Some of us, it was a health activation. Hi, how you doing? There were some things that were meant to come through last week in a very specific way that made us aware of where an order, an adjustment, a new form of communication, a logistical change of some sort needs to take place. For many of us, that order is taking place over the course of Sunday, December 31st, or the day that I'm recording this, Monday, and Tuesday, of this next week. Why do I say that? Because while Mercury is spinning backwards in the sky and starting to slow down and hit its point of turning direct and then going back the other direction, we start this week with the moon in Mercury's sign. We started in the sign of Virgo. And there is this energy of being able to put something in order in a whole different way going forward. There's another energy this week that's going to start that if you ever wanted to set a New Year's resolution of new year, new me, new shit, yeah, baby, we're taking over, this is definitely the New Year's resolution timeline to do that. Jupiter rules our hopes, our dreams, abundance, prosperity, and wealth. Jupiter has just turned direct. We have all of these planets going through Jupiter signs. And on top of that, we're going to have something change this week. And the type of change that starts to come through will slowly start to reveal a new path, a direction, an area of momentum will start to pick up based off of the path that we've already been on. A gear shifts into place this week. What is that gear? Mars, baby. Mars. I put a lot of emphasis on Mars the last quarter of 2023 because we had a Mars rebirth. And what I have said throughout the month of December is that Mars was snowblind. Mars was still hidden within the rays of the sun. So our drive, our ambition, our desire, the path that we're wanting to take on, everything that we're wanting to do, we've had something that has kept us from feeling like we can do it. But little by little, as December continued, little things kind of fell into shape. The sun got further away from Mars, and his vision started to become more clear. And as we get through the first full week of January and into the second week, there will be a vision that starts to take shape. That vision is directly tied to Mars. Again, there was a pause. I'm sorry, guys. That vision is directly tied to Mars. And why is that? Two things are going to start to occur over the first 2 weeks of January. One, Mars is going to go into Capricorn. That happens this week. The second is Mars is going to slowly start to be reborn as the morning star. That more happens the second week. Both of these energies very much instigate a powerful new direction because Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. He does very, very well here. And there is a new responsibility, a new order, a new role many of us have been falling into shape in. We've already been moving into these places, but it's like we're on our part of the chessboard and we're seeing other things moved around. We're seeing one or two pawns have been played, but we haven't got to make our play yet. We're seeing just a little bit of something. We haven't got to step into that full role yet. We have not had our full recognition yet in something. Mars going into Capricorn this week really exemplifies an arrival, an awareness, a very, I don't want to say prolonged, but an awaited energy, something that we've been waiting for some time, really throughout the last whole part of 2023 while Mars was going through its rebirth. We've been waiting for something to take shape that is finally going to start to take shape this week. But the first few elements of whatever starts to take shape requires a new order, a new logistic, a new plan, a new way of doing things. And a good portion of this week is like literally a setting of a stage, getting everything put together, all of the placements on the table, getting everything hooked up and ready to go, getting everything lined out. Like I have a plan. Some of us, we have a plan going into this week. Some of us are going to be making a plan as we get through this week. And many of us also have to overcome recent small delays. And I have very specific reasons why I'm saying that. Recent small delays, specifically anything that occurred from December 22nd to December 31st, are also going to be a part of those delays that need to be corrected and overcome this week based off how the transits are going to continue. This is a really great week to put something in motion, to start a new thing, and understanding that it's going to be a little wonky the first few times. You are going into some uncharted territory, but remember, we've been in uncharted territory for a while. This is the transition into the next stage of that. This is the transition as to where a new momentum is going to go. This is the transition of a direction starting to unfold in front of us. We are still in a transitional energy. But where we were the 1st of December versus where we are the 1st of January, two very different energies. Many of us were very clueless to things that were starting to fall into place. We were clueless to some of the transitions that were going on. And we needed the entire month of December to understand a lot of these transitions. Those transitions now make a lot more sense. But we still have one or two little things that need to be worked out as we get into the first part of January. And that's this week, babes. So I'm going to do my best to keep this consistent, but if I have to back off a couple of times just because of like how I'm feeling, you just got to be patient with me. So here we go. January 1st, Monday. Monday morning, all day, the moon is going to be in Virgo on Monday. The moon went into Virgo very, very early Sunday morning. And there is this energy of we need to get something in order, like I said before, put something into check, get something prepared. We have a lot of focus in how we need to start something new. Some ways you can say that's January 1st. That's like New Year, New Me vibes. And that's very, very true. But the other reason that we say that is because one, again, the moon is in Virgo. It is in Mercury's sign. This is the last day of Mercury being retrograde. And we start January 1st with the moon going through a trine with the sun in Capricorn. There's a very serious tone in the atmosphere. There's very serious parts of the conversation that's going on. And that's a big portion of how we go through something on Monday. We have to put something into order. We have a serious thing going on. We are aware of something very, very serious going on in so many ways, whether it's something going on in our personal life, like we have to get something figured out. We're trying to get the logistics of something figured out with us and another person. Some of us, the wall that we hit last week, whenever it came to Jupiter turning direct and the Mars Neptune square and everything else, part of that wall was realizing we needed to make a change. And the first few days of January is trying to get a game plan together for this change. Moon trine the sun. Now, this goes the most exact between 2:30 and 4:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I've got it at 3:30 a.m. You can see that right here. We're going to keep bumping this a little bit further, and we're going to get to roughly about 7:30, because there's another energy that we're in all day on Monday. It's building on Sunday. It's exact on Monday morning, but we're in this energy all day, Sunday and Monday. And that is Venus and her square to Saturn. There is a need for healing. There is a need for security. There is a need in this energy that can be expressed between Venus and Saturn. There can be a push to take responsibility, to do something a certain way. With Venus is square to Saturn, Venus is in the higher authority, and Venus is in mutual reception with Jupiter. Jupiter's hosting Saturn, but Venus and Jupiter are working within one another. And there's a lot of corrective action that is coming through Venus's energy. She is putting something into order. She is putting something straight. And Venus is square to Saturn is that loving push. It's mom's push. It's mom still coming down on you, but not necessarily in the worst way. It's grandma's way of doing it. There is a push towards a responsibility. There can be the weight of a financial security that needs to be dealt with Venus square Saturn. But there can also be the weight of no longer wanting a responsibility. And given the other energies that we've had at play the last week, and we also have Mercury turning direct on Monday, on the 1st, there is a change in our mental. We have changed our mind about something. We hit a wall last week, and it has made us change our mind. For some people, Jupiter turning direct is restoring hope. For some people, Jupiter turning direct is a loss of hope. And there can be something here where we are expressing how we want to restore hope or how we want to relieve ourselves of responsibility. And where you're at in the process is very different for everybody. Some people, we are in a strong, hopeful connection. Other people, we are feeling something fall away. But there is the push and the weight of how responsibilities are going to be had. And that can be a part of the conversation and the plan and the logistic of what we need to get worked out. For some people, part of the last week is realizing we can't have the boys all in the same room anymore. We can't have them sharing space. Like all they do is fight. I can't do it anymore. We have to buckle down, look at the finances, Venus square Saturn, and see if we can't figure out a way to afford a bigger house. We need one where the boys can have separate rooms. I don't know why I want to blame the boys, but it's the boys' fault. It is what it is. The kids need a different space. We need a different space. For some people, it's not the kids, it's the parents. And we're not getting along. And again, we need to get a different plan together as to where the responsibility is going to be had moving forward. Understand that there is a level of weight and responsibility that is very much in the atmosphere. For some of us, it's going to be about our relationships. For some of us, it's going to be about the financials. For some of us, it's going to be about grandma and grandpa and how we can take care of something, how we can do something that's going to restore hope. There is an energy where we need to restore hope very much in the atmosphere, but we don't know exactly how we're going to do that. And even in the most painful way, there is a restoration of hope that is underway, even if it's a separation. Okay, moving this forward. We're going to get into the evening time, and I feel like this is going to be very interesting. So I'm going to get this to roughly around 9:30. This covers both at the same time. Actually, I got this at 8:30 first. So 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is just starting to enter its trine with Uranus. So we have this right here. Something that's meant to be supportive, understanding. There's some kind of communication here, but with Uranus involved, there's an excitement. There's something unexpected. There's some kind of sudden communication. There can be something that feels very, very sudden. Now, why am I putting it in that way? If I bump this from 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1 hour, in that 1 hour span, while the moon is going through its trine with Uranus, that is when Mercury turns direct. So again, 8:30 p.m., Mercury is retrograde. 9:30 p.m., Mercury is direct. For some people, the unexpected, exciting type of thing is going to be the news that somebody has changed their mind. It is going to be the news that somebody has lost hope. It is going to be how we put a plan together of how we turn something around. Maybe we should go to therapy. Maybe we can do something else. I'll move into the guest room. I'll do something else. It's sitting down going, okay, I've done the numbers and we can afford this much more house if we can sell this house at this price and yada, 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 yada. There's a planning, a strategy, an order very much going on in how we turn something around. For some people, the moon Uranus, you're going to be hearing about something that's already happened, that's already occurred. And it's like, wow, I've been waiting to hear from you for a week. I can't believe this has all happened. I know. But there's something very much in the energy that can feel very, very sudden, very, very unexpected as we get into the evening on Monday. Okay, moving this along, we're going to get into the second. We're going to get into Tuesday. And the moon is still going to be in Virgo for most of the day. Between 2 and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Virgo, in Mercury sign, is going to square a newly direct Mercury. Some of us are going to have a hard time sleeping Monday into Tuesday. Some of us are going to be trying to figure out what we do next. How do we turn something around? Some of us, the excitement the evening before was like suddenly having somebody come to a conclusion of, I want you to move out. I don't trust you. I don't want to do this anymore. Some of us, we have the hopeful energy, but some of us are going through a heavier energy right around here. And we get stuck in our heads. We have the idea of something, we have the solution of something, or we have something that has now came to light and came to the surface over the last week, but we haven't fully been able to process it yet because it's still all so fresh. We can very, very much be stuck in our own head in that overnight hour of Monday into Tuesday, of waiting to hear some kind of news for some people, some of us just trying to figure something out. We have something very much mentally in the atmosphere, mentally unable to put ourselves in something else. We're not able to work through something. I was trying to figure out how to do screen share again this whole time. There you go. And we're working through a matter. There's a strategy, there's a logistic, there's a responsibility, there's an order, there's something very much going on here that is requiring a lot of mental strength. And for some of us, we don't have a lot of mental strength to be shared. So there can be a lot of anxiety. Okay. Now, between 8 and 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit in opposition to Neptune. There can be some type of communication, and considering how all of these transits are going to go, there can be a continuous flow of one energy to the next, to the next, to the next. Somebody has changed their mind, telling the kids we're going to start shopping for a new house, telling the kids daddy's going to be sleeping in the guest room, or the kids are going to wake up the next morning and find daddy sleeping on the couch, or mom. Why are you in here? Poke, 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 poke. What are you doing? Don't do that. Don't get out of my face. With the moon's opposition to Neptune, given the way so many things have just mentally came through and unwound again, very, very recently, we can be in a fog. We can feel very, very confused. We can also be in this moment where we're having just heard something, and we're seeing the effect of how it's like suddenly affecting somebody, like, hey, are you okay? Yeah. Yeah, just need a minute. I just need time to get my head straight. I'm not in the game today. And you can see how recent energies has affected somebody, moon opposite Neptune. And it creates a bit of a fog. You don't know the full understanding. You don't know the full atmosphere as to what's going on. You can ask, but there's no guarantee that they're going to tell you. There's something here that we're just kind of hitting a wall again, but it's a short wall. Some of us are going to be able to express what has recently happened, and the other people that we're telling and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that's going on. I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that you guys are going to get divorced. Like, I don't know. And some people are going to be in this fog. Other people are going to be feeling the effects of something, or we're going to be seeing the effects in another way. Like, hey, you feeling okay? No, man, I'm just not feeling good. And we can be feeling the effects in a whole other way. I want to also bring up the fact that as we go through parts of these transits, Mercury and Mars are still very much in their square to Neptune. Just everything's kind of separated. There is a lingering, prolonged effect of things that have already been going through the motions over the last week and a half to 2 weeks. So, like I'm just going to round it out to the last 2 weeks of December, but really it's been since the 22nd of December that is now coming to light, and it's going to require some additional actions. But when it comes to the first thing of Tuesday morning, we're not taking action. It's like we're waiting. We're in the waiting room. We're in a fog. We're seeing somebody else in a fog, and we're asking what's going on. There's a bit of a foggy, hazy feeling. And for some people, if you have just been gone from work for the last 2 weeks, because you took all the last 2 weeks of the year off, because that's your time of year that you take off. You know, a lot of people that do that. This is a surreal energy of like, oh, wow, I have an office. Oh, yeah, I forgot I work here. And there's a surreal energy as you're going into the office on Monday or on Tuesday. It's going to feel like Monday. It doesn't feel like a normal day. It feels weird. I feel weird. Yeah. Very, very normal with the moon's opposition to Neptune. Okay. Now, there is this energy of needing to take an action, get something handled, overcome a fear, overcome an objection. That's very much in the atmosphere because of someone no longer feeling or being supported. The reason we're no longer feeling supported, the reason we're in this type of energy, is we got a couple things going on right here. I know I'm pulling the screen back up. One of those things, and this kind of feeds into the theme of what we start to deal with as we continue through the second and as we go into the third, is Venus. Even though she's in mutual reception with Jupiter, she's in a quincunx to Jupiter. Quincunxes mean we don't see eye to eye. We are not okay. I don't want to talk to you. You don't want to talk to me. But with the mutual reception, even though we don't see eye to eye about something, we also know the way that other person's feeling. That person knows how we're feeling. There is an awareness in this energy that's deeper, even if we aren't seeing eye to eye with somebody. There is this energy of needing to take action and overcome and work through something because somebody is no longer feeling supported. And this is a very dominant energy that's taking through the second, the third, and the fourth. We're not feeling supported and we need to work through something at the moment. It's not an easy energy. A lot of people will be kind of met with a rigidity in a lot of ways. We're going to be trying to talk to some people on the phone and trying to put something in order, trying to take a corrective action, or trying to work something out. And every time we talk to somebody on the phone, it's like they're not trying to help. They are, but they're in the same weird fog that you're in. So we have this quincunx going between Venus and Jupiter. It's not exact, but it's building. It's a building enough for me to be able to pick up on the energy. But what we have going on in the energy is that whenever we get into the late afternoon going into the evening of Tuesday, we have the moon going through a square with Mars. Simultaneously, the moon is also going to go through a trine with Pluto. Moon square Mars, push for an action, push for something to get done, to get completed. This is a very late degrees square. Mars is wrapping up its trip through Sagittarius. So part of this action has a finality energy to it. But with the moon's trine to Pluto, this final action is meant to support another area. It is meant to support a transformation, support a new energy that is trying to take shape, a new energy that is going to be trying to take shape all month of January. And whenever I get to the January episode, I'll explain that better. But there is a push, moon square Mars, to transform moon trine Pluto. And this push to transform in many ways is being met with hesitancy and resistance. And even if you are getting support in that moment, it's the most shitty attitude about it. Like, you know what that's like when you're trying to have an amicable breakup, you're trying to have an amicable conversation, and you have no choice. You have to talk to this person. There's no way around it. There has to be certain discussions. There has to be something here. There can be some very tense energy Tuesday evening. There can be some arguments Tuesday evening, because if you get somebody that is acting real crappy towards you, it's going to be very easy to go, what is your damn problem? I'm moving. Okay. I'm doing this thing. I did this thing that you wanted me to do. There can be an issue that pops up when it comes to Tuesday evening. Some people will not feel supported. Some people can only feel the lack of care from the other person, the lack of humility, the lack of love in a lot of ways. But we are in the process in just these next few days of ending something, no matter how big or how small, and become very, very aware of the action to end something in these few days. Moon square Mars being such a late degree square, again, we're in the action of ending something. Now, after this energy, so the moon square to Mars goes the most exact between 3 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you see this, I have it 3:30. Between 4:30 and 7, the moon's trine to Pluto. You can see that right here. Moon 29 degrees, Pluto is at 29 degrees. That square trine is happening simultaneously. And then after the moon perfects its trine to Pluto, the moon is going to go into Libra. And this goes the most exact at 6:47 p.m. Central Standard Time. That is when the moon is going to go into Libra. The moon is going to be in Libra. The moon is going to be in Venus's sign. I'm going to play with this a little bit since I am doing this on Zoom. The moon is going to be in Venus's sign for the next 2.5 days, while Venus is going through the quincunx with Jupiter. So everything that we're putting into order, everything that we're trying to do to create balance, all of the paperwork, all of the processing, all of the things that we're trying to do, understand that there can be a level of resistance even in the understanding. Venus and Jupiter are in mutual reception, but they're not seeing eye to eye. There can be an energy where we feel like we are constantly being met with resistance this week. It's not on purpose. It's a part of the energy. You can be talking to somebody that you know is meant to support you. You can be having an issue with your bank card, trying to talk to the bank. It's a very easy thing to be dealing with right now. I don't know what happened. And it feels like, well, we have to go because we have to go through all of these processes to get this corrected. It can feel like a hangup. It can feel like a hiccup. I don't want to go through all the processes. I don't want to jump through all these hoops. I don't want to keep doing this. I'm just ready to fix it. And it's not that things won't get fixed. It's just not necessarily that it's going to get fixed on the timeline that you want them to be fixed. With Mercury spinning in the exact same point in the sky, mentally, logically, logistically, communicatively, many of us are going to go through parts of this week feeling stuck, waiting on something to occur, waiting on something to get fixed. We are talking to the right support people. We're working with the right person. We know they're on our side. But the bureaucracy, the logistics, the process, the rules state it can only go a certain way. They can't just up and fix something. They can't just turn it around in the system. There's a process. And it can feel like as we're going through the process that we're meeting a brick wall. It's not on purpose. It really is just the energy. Okay. Now, the moon, again, it's going into Libra Tuesday evening. We're going to be dealing with the moon in Libra all through Wednesday and into Thursday. So let's keep this going. We're going to get into Wednesday. And I like Wednesday. Again, we have a finality in the energy because we are going to have Mars in its last day in Capricorn on the 3rd. Now, the moon is going to sextile Venus real early in the morning. It's actually going to go the most exact between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. So here's the moon at 5 degrees, 47 minutes. It is just past its exact sextile with Venus. The moon is in Venus's sign. So there is something very much we're supportive, we're understanding. There's an internalized way of like, we're trying to create harmony, we're trying to create balance, but we have to go through things a certain way. Venus is in that quincunx to Jupiter, and actually Venus is real exact on that quincunx once we get into the morning of the 3rd. So again, we're trying to restore balance. We're trying to overcome a situation. We're trying to fix something, but it's not getting fixed immediately. We're not hearing everything we're wanting to hear immediately. It's going to take time. This is not a great week for people that work in customer service. If you work in like the call center thing, it's not a great week for you guys. And if you have to make those customer service calls, y'all need to be patient. Watch, now I'm going to have to do it. Now that I've said that. Anyways. Okay. Keep moving this along. When we get into the evening, there's not a whole lot going on Wednesday, so I am grateful for that. But we do have something that leans into the idea of like depressurizing, and that kind of comes through more in the evening time. And that is, we get this square between the moon, here's the moon, 13 degrees, and the sun. This goes the most exact between 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here's the moon, 13 degrees. Here's the sun. It's actually exact at 9:30. They're both at 13 degrees, 14 minutes. And again, we are at that final moment of Mars being in Sagittarius. So be aware of what Sagittarius rules in your chart, because whatever hits in this wind down also kind of feels like it leads to a completion. It leads to an overcoming. It leads to a mental turnaround over the next few days, but it's also going to lead to like a wrap up in a lot of ways, because Mars is about to leave. Literally within 12 hours of this, 12? Yeah, 12 hours of this quarter moon, Mars changes signs. So there is this energy of like depressurizing, ending something, wrapping something up, put a tight little bow on it, getting something completed in the energy. Now, there's another thing that I start to feel that comes through in this quarter moon that I want to make more people aware of. And it makes me very, very nervous for people that are going through the things in regards to health, especially whenever it comes to elders. If we have someone in our life and in our family that they're going through the health things, but they're immunocompromised. So this is why I say elders, because a lot of times it does tend to be the elderly, but it can actually be anyone that we hold in high regard or high respect. We can also see disruptions in authority that are about to set in as we go through this depressurized energy. And in the immediate moment, we might not realize that there's a pressure building in, but there's a pressure building in. And there's an adjustment that's about to hit. And for a lot of people, that can kind of start to trigger over the last half of the moon going through Libra, and basically the last part of the actual week that we're going into. So let's get into Thursday and why I'm saying that. One, real early in the morning, I say real early, not too early, at 8:58 a.m. Central Standard Time, Mars is going to go into Capricorn. This is an arrival. This is somebody new. This is something new. This is getting some type of news. There's an action taking place. For a lot of people, I also want to bring up whatever starts to happen January 4th and 5th. Please think back to whatever occurred December 22nd. 21st, 22nd, 23rd, there's the human effect. Those few days with the Mercury cazimi, because the Mercury cazimi appeared at 0 degrees. Here is Mars entering Capricorn. This is Mars entering its exaltation. This is a very strong energy for Mars. But when I started looking at the other elements at play, it makes me nervous. Again, we can have issues that start to arise, disruptions that start to arise whenever it comes to authority. Authority figures in our life, people that we hold in high regard, again, our elders. And considering, I'm going with elders on part of what I had described next because of another reason. I'm looking at the moon and this conjunction to the South Node. The South Node is the body that has no head. The South Node is the body. The moon is our emotions and it is our intuition. It is the fastest moving thing. It's the thing that changes signs every 2.5 days. Like we put a lot of emphasis on the moon. Mars goes into Capricorn right before the moon hits a conjunction to the South Node. There can be a disruptive energy with elders. I'm specifically talking about elders now. That is tied to the body. Given everything I described at the beginning of this episode tied to respiratory, I am making that very, very clear right here. Because one of the things that we also did whenever we were going through the holidays and spending all this time with all these people that some of us loved and some of us didn't love, depending on the situation, is we also shared a lot of germs. We shared a lot of germs. This can be a very disruptive energy for the body. So be very, very aware of the things that you're feeling when it comes to the 4th. If you have anything internalized and triggering coming through, be very aware. Be very aware, because for some people, there's going to be something that's going on beneath the surface that starts to come through the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. And as we continue, that will make more sense. But there will be other people that a determination sets in. Like it's suddenly like the arrival of Mars going into Capricorn, and we have something just internally click, 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 click. Yeah. And it's like a gas pedal. For some people, there will be a gas pedal energy, and I'm all about that. For other people, there's going to be something going on below the surface, and we're going to become aware of this somewhere between the 4th and the 5th. This is one element of that, with the moon's conjunction to the south node, because this is going to be about the body. If you get into the morning on Thursday and you have some type of emotional trigger, moon conjunct the south node. If you have some type of health trigger, moon conjunct the south node. If you have something else that's going on that's like clicking you into a determination and a drive, that can be a good thing. And that can be more tied to Mars. But there's a click, and we feel it. We very much feel it in the energy when it gets to the 4th. Even if we don't fully understand it, we will be seeing it. We will be feeling it. Now, we might not completely understand the effects, and that can be something that we continue to deal with throughout the day. The moon's conjunction to the south node goes the most exact between 12 and 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 12:30 right now. After that, the moon is going to enter a sextile to Mercury. And I kind of like this. The moon's going to sextile Mercury, but the moon is also going to quincunx Neptune as the evening progresses. And I kind of picked up two different energies, and they're still going to be very much tied to health, the examples that I provide moving forward for just this little bit, but not necessarily, one's going to feel better than the other one. The moon hitting this sextile to Mercury, and Mercury has been stuck, but is about to actually get unstuck in the next 24 hours. This has just been spinning at 22 degrees. This is a check-in. Hey, how did everything go this week? Hey, did you get moved in? Hey, did you figure out like a new place to live? Hey, did you move into the guest room? Hey, how's it going over there? Hey, how's mom doing? How's dad doing? How's grandpa doing? And some check-ins with the moon's sextile to Mercury are going to be soft and quick and no big deal. Honestly and truly, they are. For other people, we're going to continue the conversation. And as the evening progresses, depending on how long the conversation hits, with the moon going through the quincunx to Neptune and Mercury still being in a square, it's not exact, but the 3-degree range that we look at, they've still been in a square the entire time. For some people, as the conversations progress through the 4th, we're going to have those check-ins that lead to us learning about things that we didn't know. And some of the things that we're going to learn about are going to be very unbelievable, almost unfathomable. I had no idea. They've been lying to you this time. You caught them doing what? Oh my God. And you're going to learn about the things, the disruptive things that occurred, again, very recently, when Mercury and Mars had their conjunction in that square to Neptune. The arrival and the change of Mars into Saturn sign creates an awareness of responsibility or lack thereof that needs to be adjusted. In other ways, with the moon's quincunx to Neptune, there can be feeling like that chicken, hey, how's mom feeling? How's grandpa feeling? How's auntie feeling? You know, she's feeling okay right now. We're not really dealing with the effects of anything. Or I'm starting to wonder if the medicine's even working anymore. I'm starting to wonder if she's going to get better at all. And there's this lack of understanding in one way. But in another way, if you got somebody that's like real late term in pregnancy, I said I have a couple different examples as to what with health. If we get somebody that's real late term in pregnancy and be like checking in, hey, how are those contractions going? Oh, they're still just an hour apart. Nothing's really changed. We've just been kind of stuck in the same place for the last few days. Nothing's really changed. We've been doing all the things that we thought would trigger the water breaking, but nothing's worked yet. That's okay. You just keep doing what you're doing and you start talking about all these different things, and it's not a heavy energy. And there is something about not understanding the effect, learning about the things that we were not aware of before, putting something else into perspective. It's very much in the energy as we progress from the overnight hours of the 4th and we go into the 5th. And I want to get into the morning of the 5th now. And we're going to get to right around here. Yeah. So I got this at 6:30. And there's two things that's going on right here. One, the moon at 29 degrees of Libra is going through a square with Pluto. So the moon square to Pluto goes the most exact between 5 and 7 a.m. Right after this square right here, the moon's going to go into Scorpio. Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. I'm going to bump this an hour. We're not going very far, guys. The moon is going to immediately go into Scorpio after having just squared Pluto, is going to sextile Mars, the other ruler of Scorpio, right here. And this is a very interesting energy to me because whenever I was kind of focusing on this, I was picking up like one of two things. The night before, if we had that, the woman in pregnancy and she's not really had any type of effect, it's like you wake up the next morning and you check your phone and like moon square Pluto, we have something that triggers with the moon square to Pluto. No matter what, it feels like a trigger. Good trigger, bad trigger, whatever it is, trigger. That something's going to change, that something is going to transform, that something is adjusting. And then the moon going into Pluto and Mars, the sign going into Scorpio, and immediately hitting a sextile to Mars. It's very interesting to me because I feel like whatever dynamic starts to come through in the overnight hours of Thursday going into Friday, for some people, it's a whole new ball game. They've never dealt with this before. But for other people, you're like the old guy in this situation. So this is the energy that I was picking up on. I'm like, so think of it this way. Think of either the midwife situation or the mom situation where mom's about to become a grandma and you get your daughter-in-law. I'm going to go with daughter-in-laws in the room, but your son's losing his mind and they're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, well, I do. You're fine. Everything's fine. And they're stupid triggered. They are. Moon sextile Mars. And given that the moon's going through Scorpio, Scorpio has a representation to the womb. This is where I was going with this one. The moon square to Pluto is that trigger energy that something's about to transform. And one person knows exactly what to do. They've dealt with this before. It's same old shit, different day. It's just a baby. And in one way, there is an element of familiarity. But in another way, there's an event of doing something or dealing with something for the first time. And this very much gets triggered in the overnight hours of Thursday going into Friday, most specifically Friday morning, when we go through the moon square to Pluto. It's not a heavy energy. It's just interesting to me because I feel like something really starts to come to light and really starts to take shape. And parts of that new momentum, whenever it comes to Mars and Capricorn, can really get understood and recognized once the moon goes into Scorpio. So if you've been in a lost energy for a while, the moon going into Scorpio, I feel like gives a pattern of direction. And it really kind of comes down to like whatever Scorpio rules in your chart, because you've got to understand like both rulers of Scorpio are at very finite degrees. We have a 0-degree Mars, so we are starting something, but we have a 29-degree Pluto, so we're ending something. And in one way, that can be the transformation of becoming a parent. But in another way, and I'm going back to the health stuff again in this example, what's been going on with grandpa? What's been going on with everybody? And we've been feeling like, yeah, we're doing okay right now, but I don't really know if the medicine's working. I don't really know if this is going to be okay. And then the next morning, whenever the moon hits that square to Pluto, there is a trigger. Again, there's a trigger of hearing news that we don't want to hear. And whenever you get to the hospital, the moon sextile to Mars, it's seeing something, experiencing something for the first time. And it's almost like some of us are going to be Pluto. We've done this before. And some of us are going to be Mars. I have no idea what's going on. But there's I'm going to say supportive disruption in a lot of ways. In the next few days is trying to understand what's going on below the surface. And there's a specific reason I was very adamant about the idea of elders and overcoming something with authority figures. For some people, it is going to be authority figures, but I'm sticking with elders for a big portion of this example. Mars and Pluto are both in Saturn's sign. Whenever it comes to Scorpio, it is a fixed sign, but there's a duality to this fixed sign. There's an upper level, there's the expressed level, there can be a financial level for a lot of people with Scorpio. It's associated with the 8th house, so there's the topical things, but then there's the underbelly side. And there is an energy here that speaks to understanding both what's been going on at a surface level and what's been going on below the surface. And given the way those triggers kind of worked the last few days, parts of what I feel like can go into this week, the most exact at the end of the week, can be about, again, the topical and the below the surface underbelly things of either something going on with an elder, something that's going on with an authority figure, or that's been going on for a while, something that we've been trying to, understand. There's been a topical thing of one thing going on, but now all of a sudden we feel like we can express the things that have been going on below the surface. And there's going to be a lot of things where we're going to be dealing with serious conversations, serious topics, serious emotional topics as we go through Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday. And a lot of that has to do with the depth of the moon going through Scorpio. For some people, we're going through a very hard time. We hit a whole different kind of wall last week. It wasn't a health wall like what I'm going through. It's been something else. For some people, you're going through a breakup. You caught somebody doing something, and now we're in this investigative mode. We have a whole different view of another person. And now we're almost in this investigative mode that we need to not just know what was being said up front, but we want to know what's been going on behind the scenes. We want to know a little bit below the surface. We want to know more. And there's an investigative quality, whether it's trying to do scans and understand what's going on in the chest, in the body, in the health, or it's trying to get more information, get more facts. And the other thing that kind of screams to this whenever we get into the early part of Friday is Mercury. 7:30 a.m., the moon newly in Scorpio. Mercury, 23 degrees and 0 minutes, has just started moving again. The trigger of the early morning, late Thursday, early morning of Friday, the trigger also leads into how we start to pick up and take forward steps again. We've been stuck dealing with a certain situation all week. Now we can start taking slow forward steps. But to take these forward steps, we need to have a deep-seated understanding of something. Again, there's going to be a need to understand the things that are going on below the surface, whether that is the surface of your mind, your emotions, the lies, whatever, the lies, the fraud, or whatever's been going on with the other person, or whatever's been going on in the health, There's some deep things that get triggered that need to be voiced, that need to be worked through. And for some people, we know we're going through an ending. Pluto's at 29 degrees and Pluto is about to change signs this month. But we also have Mars at 0 degrees. So it's like the beginning of an ending for some people. For some people, it's you're dealing with something for the first time and somebody else is dealing with something they've dealt with before. Again, that's why I had the light-hearted, like, somebody's in labor. Mom knows what's going on, but the son doesn't, because this is his first child, but this is her first grandbaby, not her first pregnancy or delivery to deal with. So that's why I was using both of these examples. Okay. The moon square to Pluto, again, 5 to 7 a.m. Moon's sextile to Mars, 7 to 9 a.m. And in this same time span, that's when Mercury starts to move. As the day progresses, the moon is going to hit a trine to Saturn. And this again, the moon is in Mars's sign, the moon's in Pluto's sign. Both Mars and Pluto are in Saturn's sign. There's a support. There's an understanding. There's something coming through. Again, a support with the authority figure, a support with the elder, a support towards responsibility. There is something slowly taking shape right here. Sorry. Slowly taking shape. It's not fast. It's not fast at all. They're slowly starting to come to light and something slowly starting to come to the surface. Okay. Now, once we get into a little bit later, between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I've got this at 5:30, after the moon's trine with Saturn, the moon is going to hit this opposition to Jupiter. This is a educative moment. This is a hopeful moment. This is a healing interaction. Whenever it comes to Jupiter, this is the doctor, this is the healer, this is the guru, this is somebody that can give us hope, provide us with some type of support. And given some of the things that has just gone on logistically, we need some type of support. We need that extra element. If we are dealing with the elder going into hospital, this is like, communicating with the nurse, communicating with the doctor, getting some type of medical aid. If you've been dealing with the respiratory infection or the things tied to your health, this is, getting that final help from the medicine. There can be a medicinal element here. So we're in the process of getting something set up. We're in the process of doing something different. There's a different energy that has taken shape throughout the week. This energy feels very, very different from whatever we were dealing with on Monday. It feels very different from the week before. So, okay. Moving this forward. After the moon's opposition to Jupiter, there's not a whole lot going on. We get into Saturday. And honestly, if you have things that you need to catch up on, Saturday is the day to do it. If you got things going on at home, you've had too much going on, you haven't been able to work on anything, like Saturday is the way to do it. But at the same time, Saturday might be the day that you just need to catch up on your sleep. Like there's not a lot going on to Saturday. So we're going to get to roughly around, let's get this to 1:30 in the afternoon on the 6th. The moon in Scorpio is going to sextile the sun. Not heavy. It's relaxed. It's calming. We can understand something. Again, we need to know more about the responsibilities and understand what's been going on underneath the surface. But there can be an eerie calm to what's going on. There can be a discussion about, shifts in responsibilities, but it's not heavy. It's supportive. It's helpful. We're mentally turning something around. Remember, Mercury just started to move again, but Jupiter is also just turned around. So there is this energy of just a bit of hopefulness. And again, if you've got anything going on that you haven't been able to take care of at the house, this is a great day to do it. Get those honeydews knocked out. Okay. We get into the evening time. One other thing happens on Saturday, and even it's not totally heavy, and that is the moon will hit an opposition to Uranus. So this happens the most exact between 6:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Uranus, 19 degrees, 15 minutes. Here is the moon, 19 degrees, 18 minutes, like it just happened. It just went exact. So we're very much feeling it. If we're having a bit of a lazy day, this could just be like suddenly going, hey, you want to go to the movies? Oh, I haven't been in the movies in a long time. Yeah, let's go do something. You want to go to dinner? Or you've had no plans. You got no one else to ask. And all of a sudden you get that call like unexpectedly, or you're getting that text message. You get some type of unexpected communication, but it's not heavy. It's not heavy. It's just small stuff. It can feel exciting in the moment, but there can be an unexpected element to Saturday evening. Not necessarily the worst thing in the world. There's not a whole lot of anything else going on. So you can get that unexpected invite if you want to go out and you want to go do something, you want to try something, you want to, hang out next weekend and start making plans for something else. You might not be necessarily doing that plan in the exact moment, but there can be an unexpected element whenever it comes to Saturday evening. Surprise, 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 surprise. Anyways, moving this along. We're going to get to Sunday. Now, for the first part of the day, the moon is going to be in Scorpio still. Between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to trine Neptune. This can mean weird dream energy. So overnight, Saturday going into Sunday, weird dream energy can very much be in the mix. Mercury's element, a lot of us have been going through the weird dream energy all through the Mercury-Neptune square. Sometimes it's like we're getting the weirdest TV shows that we're tuning into in your head. That's very much a possibility, but there can be something very much about a dream element here. There can be an inspiration to do something or say something over the next few days, or even an inspiration on how to fix something kind of taking shape right here. And those aren't necessarily heavy. Seeing or getting an idea of how to fix something. However, what we can also start to see is understanding the effect of something with the moon's trine to Neptune. And again, Mercury's got re-entering a square to Neptune. And we have some type of finalizing energy that needs to play out over the course of January 7th, 8th, and 9th. And this is, Sunday is the 7th. So hear me out as I say this next part. Not everybody's going through the dream energy. Not everybody dreams. Some of y'all get your intuitive messages in a whole other way. But there is some part of this energy that kind of takes me back to the transit of December 24th, 25th, and 26th. Mercury went back into its square with Neptune on the 26th. But Venus was right here at this 25-degree mark. And there can be, again, something that we just went through, something that happened, something that occurred, something that got triggered, that we start to find a solution to, that we start to see the next effect of, or the final effect of, as we go through Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. The moon's trine to Neptune can activate something. Mercury re-entering its final square to Neptune, and this is not exact on Sunday, but I can't ignore it either. There's an energy here that feels very, very much like some of our recent situations and recent disruptions and recent activity. We're doing a final round of something towards it. This can be a final round of clearing the air, but this can also be a final round of medicine. This can be a final round of an effect, but there is definitely a finality that's kind of feeding in parts of this energy. And it can very much relate to whatever wall we hit that last week of December. I'm just going to say it that way, mainly between the 24th and the 28th, but that last little bit of December. Okay. The moon is going to go into a sextile with Pluto. That goes the most exact between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So here's 1:30, here's the moon, 29 degrees, here's Pluto, 29 degrees, 34 minutes. There is something that requires an understanding. We just had something that we were trying to dive a little deeper into. We just had something where we were trying to figure something out. We've been trying to figure out something that's been going on below the surface that's now likely going to come up, that's now likely going to come out in some way. And whether you were dealing with negative things in those recent Neptune Mercury squares or positive things in those Neptune Mercury squares, some element of that is going to likely come back up. Either the people are coming back around or the theme is coming back around. And that energy is kind of picking up here. But we've also had things going on all week that are tied to Pluto. And there can again be these things of like trying to understand what's been going on below the surface, why we have been scared of something, why we felt like this recent disruption was necessary, why we feel like this change is necessary. There can be this final understanding of what's been going on below the surface. You will see this element of more and more things that's been going on behind the scenes and below the surface that's coming to light. And we're going to have some very shocking news that's going to come through very, very soon. Okay. At 3:10 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Sagittarius. The moon's going to go into Jupiter's sign. And this has got a hopeful energy to it. I like the moon whenever it goes through Sag. It makes everybody a little bit more boastful. But it's also going to feed into how we react to that final round of confusion. And for some people, whatever kind of comes through January 7th, 8th, and 9th, for some people, it's going to speak to that last week of December. But for other people, it's going to speak back to the last week of November. And we're going to do some final rounds of things tied to that timeline also. After the moon goes into Sag, the moon is going to go into a square with Saturn. And that's kind of our last transit of the day. Happens real late in the evening between 9:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is going to square Saturn. The moon was just going through Scorpio. It was going through Mars and Pluto signs. Mars and Pluto are in Saturn signs. We have this layered effective energy where we're trying to get an understanding of certain responsibilities, of certain new ways of doing things. There's a strategy that needs to take shape, that needs to get triggered. And I feel like there's a triggering of an order that needs to come about. And again, a strategy that needs to take shape in the next few days. Because while the moon is going through its square with Saturn, Mars is entering a sextile to Saturn. And I really like this energy right here. I like this developing energy of how to push something into shape, how to push a certain order to happen, how to push grandpa in not a negative sense, but in a positive sense. Like we need to push something into a momentum. There's an aid, there's an awareness, there's a hopefulness once the moon goes into Jupiter's sign. Saturn has been in Jupiter's sign since March. We're pushing something new into order. For many people, we're doing something over again, or we're doing a final layer of an existing situation that's been prolonged for quite some time. But there is this element of new roles and new responsibilities and new levels becoming very, very aware this week. For some of us, we need to develop a new way of caring for ourselves. For some of us, we're going to have to develop a new way of caring for grandpa, of caring for an elder, of caring for somebody. For some of us, we're going to be getting a new thing put in order tied to authority figures. We're trying to put something new in order for the boss, and we know it. But there's a new thing that's taking shape that isn't quite visible, that hasn't quite been understood yet, that isn't quite seen clearly, that's going through the motions, that's very much coming to light at this moment. And you can see it, you can feel it in a lot of ways. There's a trajectory that's taking shape that we don't quite see everything quite yet. Not at the 1st of January. There's some steps. There's a process unfolding. And in the unfolding, we get other details. We see little triggers. And even if the conversation that's being had is not like a full-on, hi, I am this NPC that has come into your life and I'm going to help you do this. How are you doing? It's not necessarily going to be like that. But there is going to be these little things that it kind of makes you aware, like, oh, hey, that's different. And you see that pattern of do this in this way, in this direction, do this in this way, in this direction. And it starts to create a new pattern. And as that unfolds, and as the trajectory starts to become clear, that will continue all throughout the month of January. But there's the lingering effect of this first week of January. And what I said last week in last week's episode is, for some people, the first week of January is almost like a hangover. For some people, it's a carryover. It's a finalizing. We need to wrap up some details because so much of us hit a wall in the transition. But again, it's almost like being on the dive team. You have to hit that wall to do the next lap in the pool. We have to hit that wall to turn around and finish the dash, to finish the meet. We have a turnaround, but there's a fluidity in the turnaround. That's why I'm comparing it to swimming. There's a fluidity in the moment. There's a fluidity in the energy. We can feel ourselves turning. You can see people turning in front of you. You can see their attitudes are changing. Where before, when people were being met with a resistance, all of a sudden, the area of resistance is not so resistant anymore. We're more likely to share. We're more likely to include somebody. We're more likely to do something with somebody. We're more likely to talk to somebody. Or vice versa. We now know why the resistance was there. And we now know that the turn is a fork in the road. And that person wants to go this way, and I'm going to go this way. And maybe some way we can meet back up in the future. But at this moment, the path is two different directions. And there can be separations involved. Some people, the separation was on purpose this last week. Somebody got caught in a lie. They got caught cheating. They got caught doing something. That Mercury-Mars square to Neptune, that last week of December, that was heavy for a lot of people. I had a lot of people in my DMs that week over the weekend during that time. I was like, wow, that's a lot. I've seen a lot of things just kind of unfolding for certain people. But there's a trajectory that is taking shape. There's a determination that is starting to come into play. And for some of us, our determination is going to be like, I can do this without this person. They were holding me back. I don't need that lie. I don't need that cheater. I don't need that scandal. No more. For some of you, the new direction is going to be you're about to be a parent, or you're about to be a grandparent. And it's a great energy that you're going into. It's a great energy that's unfolding. And you see this new way of being and this new momentum and this new part of your identity taking shape, and you're just grabbing it full force and like, this is what I wanted. And this is good energy for you. For some of us, it's about illness. And we're understanding the things that have been going on below the surface. And we're seeing certain things come to light. We're seeing certain things come about. If we're not seeing them necessarily in ourselves, we're seeing them in somebody else. And sometimes the way the universe makes us hit a wall and slow down is by making us sick. And I hate saying that one, but it's true. It happens. You're moving too fast. Slow down. I don't want to slow down. Okay, well, I'm going to make you. And it does. I'm going to make you. Okay. Some things needed to unfold very naturally. Some things needed to occur a certain way. What's going to happen this next week is the first few steps of momentum. And after the first few steps of momentum, a trajectory will take shape. A path of lesser resistance. I'm not saying everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows. I never do. If it's a good energy, I tell you. If it's a bad energy, I tell you. The first part of this week, we're going to be meeting a lot of resistance still, but it's not going to be the same resistance of what we were dealing with before. It's weird. It's like whenever you're trying to, navigate mom and dad when they're fighting and you just know that there's something going on. You're like, I don't want to ask either one of them, but I know I have to ask them both. There's an overcoming in the energy. And I'm telling you, once we get deeper into January, and when I do the month ahead forecast, that's going to make a lot more sense all the way through because I go through the entire month of January. It will make sense of what's starting to come to light, what's starting to be taking shape, and where the awareness of certain things is going. There has been a path that has been trying to unfold for quite some time, but the little elements of when they were trying to unfold before, energetically, we weren't ready, or somebody else wasn't ready, or somebody else was not in the right place. There's a huge momentum that is going to start to pick up as we go through January and as we go through February and as we even get into March. The last part of March gets a little hinky, but there's a momentum taking shape. And if you've been feeling stuck, that ain't gonna match. It's not gonna last much longer. It's not. And a whole different energy will start to take shape. We are pivoting into a new direction. Good, bad, or ugly, we're pivoting into a new direction. If this was ever a year to say new year, new me, this is the year to do it. This is the year for New Year resolutions. Last year was not. This year definitely is. I love the energy because I see the possibilities. I see the hopefulness and I see the potential of progress. So there's that. Anyways, okay. I'm sorry again that I've been under the weather. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to meet with everybody as much as I wanted to this week. A lot of you are set up for one-on-ones this next week. I have other readings that are about to go out. If you have any questions, hit me up, in the comments section. You can find my contact information in the description. You can go to find me on the Spiritually Boujee page on Facebook, or it'll link you over to my Instagram, and you can DM me through there. I do have WhatsApp, but I don't have a way to link my WhatsApp. It's weird. I'm sorry. But hit me up with questions. Hit me up with concerns. I will be doing the full month ahead forecast of the month of January. Hopefully my voice and everything restores a little bit more over the next 24 hours because my goal is to do it tomorrow. So I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.